Next topic of discussion, that is targeted nutrition and nutraceuticals for longevity, and the wonderful session will be taken by Mr. Jayant Bhattacharjee. He's from Switzerland here with us. We are honored to have you here with us, sir. Please everybody give it up for the gentleman. Well, he stands out as a seasoned international executive with a distinguished career in fostering growth and innovation in diverse sectors and regions. Well, as the Director of Business Development, APAC for NUTRASWISS AG and resident in Switzerland, Mr. Bhattacharjee has been pivotal in introducing Switzerland's premier nutraceuticals and wellness companies to the Chinese and Indian market. And we're looking forward to hear some really words of wisdom from the gentleman.
Well, namaste everybody, and welcome to this session. Words of wisdom, well, I'm not very sure words of wisdom, because I've been attending this wonderful event together with some of my colleagues and friends and fellow participants, and I'm just amazed at how much wisdom, data, information, research, all this is available, and there's so much stuff out there. And I've been asking myself, what can I say or add to this? And I thought I would try and make this as interesting as possible by maybe giving you some more information, but not too much in terms of data, interact with you, maybe some mythbusters along the way, or just tell you what we have found out by virtue of being at the forefront of Switzerland's leading nutraceutical company. We've cutting-edge facilities, technology, and I had the good fortune of developing markets in China, Middle East, and now, of course, India. So it has given me a front row view of what could be perceived as a revolution that's actually breaking out. So for starters, there's so much that's been said today, and maybe it'll also be said tomorrow, about DNA and the human genome and the role that nutrition plays in it and so forth. Well, first and foremost, I think it's very important that we understand who we really are. And surprise, surprise, all of us, you and me, this body here, we are only 10% human genome. Only 10% human genome. And what's more important, the entire DNA configuration of your body is 99% bacteria, just 1% human genome. The human DNA is just 1% of you. Now, while we are focusing, it's very important, we need to focus on the human DNA, but we're forgetting the other 99% that makes up you, who you are. This entire complexity of who we are, how we react, what we do. In fact, interestingly, I think most of you would know, the human DNA has just 22,000. A normal fly has over 32,000. Simple plant has 40,000, 50,000 genes. How does one explain that? So how come, a complex being like the human being, look at me, look at you, how is it that we just have 20,000 odd genes when a plant has double that amount? And it's so much less complex, at least that's what we think, or we know at this point in time. So what accounts for this sophistication in human beings? Bacteria. As I said, we are formed 90% of bacteria. You are 90% bacteria, virus, worms, fungus, you name it. It sounds a little yuckish, but it's true. And therefore, I think we must, in order to address all our concerns and issues, we have to be able to kind of focus a little bit more on our little friends, these microbes which make us 90% of who we are, because that will play a pivotal role in all that follows. Without these guys getting their due attention, we don't end up finding, I will not use the word right solution, but at least a comprehensive solution that works. So that is, for starters, that's who we are. We are 90% bacteria. I'm stressing on this because it's extremely important, because everything follows from there. Who we are is a collaboration between bacteria, 90%, and 1% human cells. So therefore, it follows that in dealing with all the issues related to longevity, health, ageless, diseaseless, and the rest of it, unless you are understanding the basic principles of that collaboration, you're not getting anywhere. Now, that was for starters. When it comes to how important is nutrition for longevity, of course it's important. But again, in our view, we have found that, sometimes this importance is overplayed. As you know, my very gracious host, Arjun Sharmaji was saying yesterday, food is highly overrated. And I agree, because there's a simple test to this, a very, very simple test. Anyone here could live without food for 15 days, 10 days, 20 days, stronger, healthier people up to 40 days, yogis up to 60 days, God knows what. Without water, you could do, maybe 10 days, 11 days, 15 days. But without air, you don't breathe, you're out in a minute. So that gives you the hierarchy of importance. But again, I'm just putting this on its head. Because nutrition is just not food as we understand it. Nutrition is not even inputs, it's a process. We have to understand that, and no one understands this better than people that make some of the best supplements in the world today. And I will share those experiences with you, because a lot has been said today about what should be done, what you can do, what you should take, but nobody's going to tell you the problems associated with this, the scams that are being played out. And this is what I intend to do today, just share our experiences with you as we entered the Indian market 2 years ago. The very interesting experiences we had in China, reactions we had, things like that, and what you should be wary of. Now, I was talking, before I get to that, I was talking about, and the other thing that needs to possibly be stressed also is that while everything is important, what you know about the DNA, the gentleman who was talking about diagnostics just before me, all the wonderful wisdom and the information that flowed from it, but at the end of the day, the best doctor in the world is you and your body. Now, the question is how, everyone says this, fair enough, this sounds very cliched, but the question is, how do I listen to this wonderful doctor within me? What is he telling me? How do I make sense of the gibberish or the signals that come out? It's not easy. And that is when you will really need the help of your little friends, because these are the guys that do all the messaging. I mean, you forget for a minute, I'm not going to dump tons of data on you, complicated diagrams, nothing of the sort. But you must understand that without understanding that your body knows what it knows best and nobody can replace it, you're not getting anywhere. For example, today we heard about, I will give you some examples. So we've spoken about the nervous system. You have the autonomous nervous system. You have the sympathetic nervous system. And how closely these are linked to who we are, I will just illustrate and give you a couple of examples. Now, for example, there's one fundamental fact. Digestion and healing don't go together. That's point number one. But more importantly, I will give you some examples here. So all of us know, there was somebody just before me a couple of talks earlier who mentioned, or a lot of people talk about red wine being good for you. Now, if I were to ask people here, or even experts, why is it good for you? You will receive possibly very good answers, technical replies, at a technical level, polyphenols, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it's none of all that. The real reason why wine is good for you is that when you put, and if it comes from, fermented grape or whatever, once you put it inside your body and it reaches your gut, your body senses it. It knows automatically, on account of conditioning over hundreds of millions of years, that this is from rotten grape. Therefore, it draws the conclusion, again because of conditioning, that it does not know you have done it. So what it figures out is that there is a famine outside, that the situation outside is not bad or is good, and we might soon have a situation where there is no food. Therefore, it signals your body that, bhaiya, hame jeena hai, to start doing all the stuff that you need to do to keep us alive. That is why red wine is good at the end of the day. Similarly, you take a very fundamental question. Everyone knows jogging is good for you, running is good for you. Sure, it is good. If you ask anyone why is it good for you, well, there's blood circulation, the heart pumps, everything happens. Not true. True, but not the whole truth. Let me put it that way. The real truth is the moment you start jogging and running, on account of millions of years of conditioning at a cellular level, your body knows, hey, stop. My friend is running. Possibly there's a tiger chasing him. He's going to die. Forget the rest of it. Start secreting, excreting, doing everything you need to do to make this guy live. And so your entire system starts making you want to live. And that's when the trick happens. All of us know here that pranayama is good. Alom, vilom, breathing, everyone knows this is very good. If you ask people, why is this good? Yeah, deep breathing cools you down, this happens, that happens. But at a very fundamental level, there is a deeper truth. And that truth is that when you're not aware, you breathe automatically 16 times, 15 times, depending whom you ask. And this is carried out automatically. Now, when you do pranayama, you do conscious breathing, which means you slow your breathing down. You may bring it down to 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3, 4, 5, whatever is slowed down. That's when your body knows that you are truly relaxed, because it does not happen automatically. There is no threat. There is no tiger attacking. And that's when healing kicks in, because you are relaxed. That flight or fight mode is switched off and you start healing. Because if you want to hack the body is nobody's fool. It knows you better than anybody else does. You can't trick it very easily. All hacks in the world have to be chosen very carefully. So pranayama actually is a fantastic hack, because that's the only time the body knows, not you, that you are relaxed. Because you would not be slowing down your breathing and doing alom vilom if a tiger were chasing you. So that's why healing takes place. I mean, this is the reality of it all. Again, to highlight the point, for example, because so much was said about cancer, diagnosis and healing and stuff like that. Well, there's enough research to back this up. When the body takes over, and if you can convince your body that it needs to heal and there's an urge to live, cancer is gone out the window in 2 minutes. I'll give you a very, very clear example of this. There's enough data to now suggest that, for example, if women were to have cancer, let's say within the reproductive age, because there are 2 overwhelming bodily responses or urges that everybody has, okay, in nature. Primarily one is, of course, self-preservation, you want to live, and the other is procreation. Now, when any of these 2 issues are on the table or needs to be dealt with, body gives this the utmost priority. So, for example, if a woman were to have cancer, and this is documented, there's been a lot of research with this, within the reproductive age, believe you me, this may sound a little flippant, but one of the smartest ways to get rid of that cancer is to get pregnant. Because the moment you get pregnant, the body says, hey, there's another life coming in. Stop press. Do whatever you have to do to get this right, because we need this baby out. So cancer is stopped. You've actually had cases where along the way cancer stops, the baby comes out, and if you're not smart, it may come back. But during those 9 months, cancer is gone. Well, not anymore. Be careful. We have a real risk there. Anyway, so the point being that there is a lot to be said about these things. The focus has to be shifted back to these little buddies that we have, the system as a whole. We need to prioritize, we need to listen to ourselves, and these little hacks that will tell you what's really going on. Now, of course, I have the slides here, but let me talk about, because there's a lot that is being said about nutrition. The first question that arises is, do supplements work for nutrition? Yes, they do. They're very important. But again, as many speakers before me have highlighted and emphasized, your medicine is food, what you eat is all you need, so why do we need supplements? I mean, that's an important question. And again, supplements in what form? Should it be tablets? Should they be capsules? What would you like? Should they be IV? All of these are there on the table. People are doing it. So which is the good one? Which is the better one? So let me give you some statistics here. I agree, or at least scientists agree, with the fact today that, ideally, in an ideal situation, food should have been able to provide you with all the nutrition you need. That should have been the case. But unfortunately, it no longer is the case. So, drawing on data from the government of India, for example, if you had X amount of nutrition available in a kilo of dal, or let's say a broccoli or cauliflower in India in 2000, the same quantity of dal today will provide you only 40% of X that was available in 2000. It's actually that bad. And you don't need to be a genius to figure out why. Your topsoil is gone, plenty of fertilizers, nothing is really happening, everything is pretty bad. Where does this poor plant or lentil or fruit or whatever it is draw from? It can't draw everything from the air. Photosynthesis cannot provide this. So you do need supplements. Unfortunately, it is not an ideal situation. However, one has to be careful, because when you take supplements in a manner that is not very smart, what happens is you don't end up getting that supplement, and what happens instead is that you get plastic, garbage, gelatin, God knows what, that goes into your stomach. In fact, there's a very interesting statistic that is available today. In India, any male or female above the age of 45, 40, and 50, if your stomach is cut open, you're going to find somewhere between 60 and 90 grams of plastic deposit there. And most of it comes from medication. Of course, there are microplastic nutrients in the leaching of the bottles that you get, you drink water, but most of it comes from capsules. And what you're not being told today is that almost all capsules available in India are made from non-biodigestible substances like plastic and gelatin and stuff like that, which is extremely unhealthy for you. No one is telling you this. So in order to get maybe God knows what, 100 milligrams of something that you need, a nutrient, you end up ingesting into yourself the worst kind of poison. And nobody's stopping that. You might not as well have taken that, honestly. So a lot of these, for example, I'll tell you some of the other things, scams that are happening. When we came into India, that was 2 years ago, NUTRASWISS, what you see there is, of course, the generic stuff. But let me tell you what you should be worried about, because that's more interesting. At the end of the day, you want to hear something, that is spicy and gossipy, more interesting. You have been deluged with information and data all day long. So, and of course, this is stuff that I'm going to give you, this is action level information for you. So you take probiotics, for example, okay? So most of this probiotic comes from the lactobacillus strain. And you will have data at the back of the label, which will tell you, so many billion CFU and so forth. So you think you're putting wonderful stuff inside. But the question is, are you actually putting this bacteria inside which is living? I don't know anymore. For example, when we came into India 2 years ago, we did a lot of research, and we found out that there were people actually selling probiotic as tablets. There is no way on earth that you could have probiotic tablets. It's just not possible. Imagine a bacteria. Of course, there's a deep freeze technology for this, but you can't have it on a tablet that is bound by binders, cemented with heat process, and then encapsulated and put in a plastic. There's no way this is going to live. And yet you put all that stuff inside your stomach. How does that work? In fact, most nutrients that come in the form of tablets, there's a 90% chance that this is getting you nowhere, because it just simply comes out as poop. It's for a very good reason that capsules are used. Because once you put it in, it goes through your digestive tract into your stomach, where a lot of action happens. The liver does its bit and so forth, and then it starts moving into the colon area. A lot of your gut bacteria actually live in the colon area. There's some guys that live in the stomach, but they're very careful because they can't survive in a high acidic environment. So it's only, you will find what happens is you get this IBS or irritable bowel syndrome when over age your acidity levels begin to come down, that these guys find the environment good and they start moving in from the colon into the stomach. And that's where the bad guys may come in, so you have to be careful. But again, coming back to probiotics. So one thing to do for sure is to avoid probiotic tablets. This is a scam. This is not happening. You have to be very careful about what you get. Capsules, at least you have a better shot, because once it's deep frozen, what happens is in our factory, for example, in Switzerland, you extract the probiotic from a lactobacillus strain. There's a very, very advanced technology where you deep freeze it. And then it is encapsulated under very special conditions. So, and then when it goes inside, it finds the right environment, the capsule melts away, and the bacteria come alive. Now, hopefully this bacteria is good for you, because many times there's a war raging inside because you've introduced a new group, and then there is a war for turf, who gets what. And you might end up being worse off than you actually were. So you have to be extremely careful, but capsules, I would say, would be your best bet. You refrigerate it. Given a chance, you have to refrigerate it. But again, capsules, probiotics in capsules have a far better chance of surviving. Again, please understand, when there's plastic and it's not refrigerated, there's no way this probiotic will work. Absolutely, it's not working. These are scams. Because I say this with a lot of responsibility here. We're the only guys, we began partnering with Apollo 2 years ago. Apollo hospitals. We came in because we figured we were making a lot of bold claims, and we figured that, Apollo would be, because we could have followed the normal route, which is come in, get celebrity endorsement, get a big Bollywood star to hold up a jar and say, hey, bingo, presto, this is the stuff for you. We could have done that, but somehow Swiss are more traditional. They don't go the American jing-bang way. So we thought we would come in nicely and smoothly by working with a partner who somehow seemed to be the right match for us. Apollo hauled us over hot coal. Ki bhaiya aap ye claim, because in Switzerland, every claim you make on your label has to be certified by 17 different agencies. 17. That's why today, the brand itself is a huge deal for us, because we know, for example, on some of my products, we pay up to 56, 60, 70% customs duty when we bring them into India. This is a huge factor. For example, I could bring the 60 down to 20 or 25 or even 10 if I were to just simply do jarring or bottling or a little activity in India. But we don't do it. We refuse to do it because A, that would dilute the brand, and B, we're not sure anymore what will happen, where things will go wrong. I can't guarantee this. In fact, that's why our USP is 100% manufactured, packed, not only manufactured, but packed in Switzerland. It's very important because the levels of technology we have there, what we do, we pay a lot of attention to it. So again, to go back to my story, so when we came into India with Apollo 2 years ago, we introduced this whey protein powder and some other protein products. And we said a jar, you can see them in our booth outside. So a jar, which is 500 grams, was costing about 3,600 rupees at that time, or it still does actually. And then people at Apollo said, are you kidding me? Are you crazy? Who would buy 500 grams for 3,600 rupees? Nobody will do this. Because there are others, I will not take names, but there are others who are selling the same stuff for 1 kilo, 1.5 kilo for 1,500 or 1,800 rupees, half your price. We were quite stunned, actually, and we thought, are we making a mistake? Are we in the wrong market? What's happening? And then we got a little deeper into the subject, and we started looking at labels. And we figured that big names which had protein at the very front, of their names, and they said this is the best protein meals and so forth, well, they were protein by only 20% by weight. The rest were fillers. Vitamin E, D mannose, God knows what, lots of stuff. But protein was only 20%, which then dawned on us that to all things being equal, which they are not, because source is important, you had to buy 4 or 5 of those jars to get the same amount of protein that you get from one jar of mine. And that's when we won the battle. We're selling 10,000 jars a day today. Okay, the same thing happened with, we have this capsule, which is again a very important product in India, called CranGuard. Now, these are cranberry extracts. So today, depending on who you ask and what you read, 45, 60%, 70% of the male population, adult population in India has some grade of UTI, urinary tract infection. Okay? Women especially are very susceptible to this. And almost all gynecologists will start prescribing this stuff to you. And the only known non-antibiotic medication, if you like, that works for this is cranberry. This is documented. Cranberry extract. So now, unfortunately, cranberries don't grow in India. So they grow in Switzerland, parts of Europe, Canada, North America, and so on, but not in India. So this has to be imported. All right, it's a huge deal. I mean, by the last count, the annual sales of cranberry or cranberry-related products in India last year, take a shot, was almost 560 crores. Huge market. But you know what? The biggest player in the market was selling, it's a name, I'm not taking names here, but he was selling cranberry extract as a tablet. So this very nice guy, he was importing all this stuff from America, so it's expensive to import, and then you have to store it in proper conditions, which is difficult to do. And then to compound the problem, they made this, they mixed this with binders, chemicals, and whatnot. This poor little extract is already dead and gone, died a long time ago. And then they make it a tablet, they ferment it, they spring it, and they give it to you in a little plate. It's gone. And this company has a turnover of 1,800 crores per annum, single product. And it's not getting you anywhere. You cannot have cranberry extract in tablet form. There might be extract, but it's not working. It's dead and gone. So one has to be very careful about what one does. It's extremely important that you try and understand. For example, again, we are not on Amazon. And this went against normal wisdom or common sense. It's the biggest platform available. But then we figured that, there's one major flaw with Amazon, and that is what they say, I don't know, but at the end of the day, you could have people who can be selling your products. While they claim they ask for authentication or some kind of authorization from the parent company, you can be an agent, you can be a marketer, and you can present these products. As long as you claim that these are products from, let's say, NutraSwiss. So we are not on Amazon for a good reason. You have to be very careful of what you read there and what is really said. Again, let me just clarify here. When you say there is some documented cases of valerian affecting the liver and increasing toxicity and so forth, again, I would say you must look at those papers again. It was not valerian per se. There is no direct correlation with the liver as such. There were other factors that had to be considered. For example, let me just bust another myth. They say alcohol, causes liver cirrhosis. Everyone knows this, right? You drink alcohol, you get liver cirrhosis, you have these major scars on your liver. Terrible. Not true. Sir, not true at all. You can actually soak your liver in alcohol day in, day out. You will not find cirrhosis. You will not find cirrhosis. The only reason you get liver cirrhosis is because when you put in the alcohol, your gut begins to leak, all the bad guys go in, and there's inflammation on the liver. When you analyze the tissue that results from the scars on the liver, this is dead tissue. There's no alcohol there. It doesn't even touch it. So the causality, and the end effect are two different things altogether. But to answer your question in a more direct way, simple answer is very clear. We go past, all our products need 17 licenses to get out of Switzerland, never mind where I export it. Okay. In fact, we have quite a paradoxical situation where if it's rejected in Switzerland, we have cases where the drugs are not allowed in Switzerland, but they're allowed in India. And the Swiss government actually forces us to tell the Indian government that this has not been allowed in Switzerland, and therefore you guys take your call. So, to your point about valerian and the liver, not true at all. I would not have been able to get past and get into India unless this was possible. He was talking about melatonin. Let me tell you this. Just a little aside, one more second. With your permission, sorry, easier to ask for permission than to say sorry. Melatonin, we're selling about 10,000 jars per month today, just with Apollo. Our products are available only on our online shop or at Apollo Pharmacy 24/7 and so forth. And it's amazing the doctors love this product for one very simple reason. You will hear lots of stuff about, melatonin 1 milligram or 2 or 3 or 4 or 20, but that's not the point here. Our pitch to doctors is very simple because most diseases will have a sleep-related disorder. So when a patient asks a doctor and says, "Doctor, I need some medication for sleep," the doctor is a very worried man because he has to look at the patient, he has to take a call, kahin aisa to nahi hai ki, this guy takes it and attempts suicide or something like that. Whereas in our case, our sales pitch is very simple. Doc, go ahead, give it to your patient, 1 pill 5 minutes before he sleeps, he's knocked out. But let's say he wants to commit suicide for whatever reason. Best case scenario, he has a wonderful sleep. Worst case scenario, he has indigestion. Nobody ever dies. So he has indigestion. Nobody ever died. That's why the docs love it. they're not prescribing it like crazy because it's the thing, but because there's zero risk and fantastic results. So, yeah, lovely. Thank you, and I look forward to exchanging more later on, but we're running short of time. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so
Have a
much,
good
sir.
day.
Thank you so much.